This was the third night I had been standing on the side of the road trying to thumb a ride out of town. Some cars and pickup trucks slowed down, but once the drivers read the big sign I was holding, they sped up and moved on down the road. Some people, mostly colored people who knew me or somebody in my family, had stopped and asked how far I was going. Mr. Henry, an old colored fellow who worked down at the mill, came through the first night. He recognized me, so he stopped. "Frank Jones, what you doing out here all by yourself this time of night?" "Trying to get a ride out of town is all." Mr. Henry looked my large cardboard sign up and down, but I wonder why he didn't say a word about what the sign said. "Where you headed, son?" "Just leaving town is all." "Well, I'm making a run to Gantsville. You're welcome to come along if that'll help you some." "Thanks a bunch, Mr. Henry, but I'm going way past Gantsville." "Well, son, don't stay out here by yourself too long. Just 'cause FDR done got re-elected don't mean things gonna change for the better around here." "Yes, sir." "How Esther holding up?" "Aunt Esther's still grieving bad." Mr. Henry tightened his grip on the truck's large steering wheel. "Shame what they did to your Uncle Bill, boy." "Yes, sir." "My regards to Esther," he said, blinking his eyes again. "Son, you be careful here." I watched the old truck ease down the road and listened to it backfire as Mr. Henry shifted gears. Other cars and trucks passed by that first day, but nobody else stopped. The second night went pretty much the same, except the woods kept watching me from behind. Mostly I sat down on my duffel bag, holding my sign, looking up to count stars. Possum, deer, squirrels shuffled about in the woods on my side of the road. Owls hooted, and a bunch of crickets rubbed their legs furiously in the warm, humid night air. It was so peaceful that second night that I started thinking about how much I would miss this town. Then came the third night. In the beginning, it strung along pretty much like the first two. Most folks passed by and looked with interest, but without slowing down. A few slowed down, then kept going. But most folks passed me by without scant notice. I felt like a tree. Had a solid place in the world, but most people took me for granted. Then an old Ford full of white men eased down the road my way. The horn honked, and the men hollered and cussed me. The car kicked up dust, making a U-turn, came back down the road, passed me by, then made another U-turn and caused me to run off the road toward the woods. The car went up ahead about 100 yards and stopped. I went back and stood on the side of the road and kept my eyes on it. The men didn't say anything, just looked at me strange. Then they went on like nothing had happened. A little later, Simon Broadnax, owner of Broadnax & Sons Mortuary, pulled over in his shiny black funeral carriage and looked out the window. "Boy, what you doing out here this time of night?" "Sir, I'm just trying to get a ride out of here." "Where you going?" I showed him my sign, and he read it aloud. "Going back to America? Hell, where the hell do you think you're at right now?" "I'm in sorrow." "Boy, don't you know that sorrow is the heartland of America? This is where it all started." "Is it?" "You bet your ass. Now, I don't know what you're trying to prove, but the best thing for you to do is to get yourself another sign. A lot of decent folk passing along this road aren't going to like the one you've got worth a damn." "Yes, sir." Broadnax drove on off down the road. I had an idea where he was headed. We already knew he was one of the wizards. Something would probably happen now. My body started shaking from chills. I stuck my sign in the ground and reached into my bag for a stick of beef jerky and the silver flask that had belonged to my Uncle Bill. I chewed a little bit and drank some of Uncle Bill's homemade corn liquor from the flask. Then I sat on my stuffed canvas bag and waited. Around midnight, the road became quiet as death. After counting stars, I started to call it a night and go on back home. But then I got a signal from across the road that a couple of cars were coming my way. I stood up, picked up my sign, and stuck my right thumb out. As the cars approached, I squinted real hard and made out 4 heads in a car and 3 heads in the front of the other vehicle, a pickup truck. I couldn't see who it was because their heads were covered with hoods. My thumb began shaking. Suddenly, the truck sped toward me and ran me off the road. I fell down, getting out of the way. The truck stopped on one side of me and the car jackknifed to a halt on the other side of me. The men jumped out of the truck and started walking fast toward me. "Boy, you the nigger trying to get back to America?" The other Klansmen started piling out of the car, so I didn't say anything. "Boy, I ask you a question. Are you the nigger trying to get back to America?" "Yes, sir." One of the men started moving toward me. "What in the hell do you mean you're going back to America? Nigga, this here is America. Sorrow is more American than America is. We are America. Ain't you one stupid nigga? Here you are trying to get somewhere and didn't even know you were already here." 2 Klansmen grabbed me and I started wrestling with them. Suddenly, I could not see through to the stars, and for all of 15 seconds, fists, boots, and sticks rained down on me. Then a booming explosion went on. The pickup was engulfed in fire. So was the Chevy. "What the hell?" Bull Johnson said. My face and body hurt some, but the fire had to be the most beautiful thing I had ever seen in sorrow. Klansmen got off me and rushed toward their vehicles, but the fires were too hot and big for them to put out. Then 6 men wearing black masks walked calmly and quietly from the other side of the road. Their night shadows stretched tall by the 2 dancing fires. Each man aimed his rifle toward the Klansman. By then, I had risen from the ground. After spitting out bits of dry, wild grass and dirt, I held up my sign and said, "All you white hoods, freeze." "Nigger, do you know who you messing with?" It was the voice of Hubert Broadnax, son of Simon. "Y'all won't live to see tomorrow." "Anybody moves is gonna get his brain shot up," I said. While the Black Mask stood in the background, quietly aiming their rifles at the Klansmen, I went around and started pulling off white hoods, one by one. Most of the faces I saw I had already figured were long-standing members of the Klan. But Milt Harris was a shocker. I stared at him a long time. All I could do was shake my head. I had grown up with Milt, played baseball with him. He and his brother Zach. We had drunk many a glass of Aunt Esther's lemonade and iced tea. So hard to figure out what's what in this world. At some point, you just have to take a stand for something, even if you don't believe in it 100%. Then I went on with my short script. We know who you are now, and we know your families. So y'all make sure no more colored folks come up lynched, hurt, or missing. Nigger, you're not going to do squat, Bull Johnson said. Bull was a sometime handyman, put down too much moonshine to be reliable for much more than that. He looked like a bulldog about the face. I walked over to Bull real quiet-like, looked him in the eye. He was older than me, bigger and taller, but at that moment I stood rock solid. The world belonged to me, and my bad feelings for Bull and the rest of the Klan must have shown on my face. It seems I started staring at Bull forever before he spat in my face. Boy, you a one-dead dog, he said. You won't make daybreak. Neither will the rest of you, stupid niggers. Who in hell do you think you're messing with? This is a town of sorrow. So much anger welled up in me that tears filled the cups in my eyes. Bull, I said, still staring him straight in the eye. Go ahead on and put your hood back over your head. Bull paused. Go ahead on now, because I can't stand looking at your face anymore. Bull put the white hood on and lined it up neatly. I reached into my duffel bag and pulled out a pistol and dug the barrel into Bull's head. What are you doing? Milt Harris said. Shut up, Milt, I said. That's when I pulled the trigger. A big banging sound exploded from the barrel. Bull screamed, urinated on himself, and dropped to the ground on his knees. But he was all right. I had put blinks in my gun. I really didn't want to hurt anybody. White folks done enough killing for everybody. The Black Masks were not supposed to make a sound, but after Bull messed over himself, they started laughing, except for Albert Martin and his brother Sully. Like me, they had lost too many friends and relatives to the Klan's inhumanity. The difference is they really wanted a pound of the Klan's flesh, though we had come to a hard agreement that skin, flesh, blood, bone, and tears would not be our aim. One of the Klansmen realized that I had shot off a blank and decided to go for his gun. That's when the shooting started. Before the man could bend over good, the Martin brothers had stuffed him with buckshot. The Klansman fell over, moaning in agony. It was a terrible sound. Sounded like screeching death. When the man passed out, everything was so quiet that all I could think to do was repeat my short script. Like I said, we know who you are now, and we know your families. Y'all make sure no more colored folks come up lynched, hurt, or missing. We had the Klansmen pick up the body of their fallen brother. Then 5 of the 6 Black Masks herded the Klansmen deep into the woods. After the men left our sight, Brother Taylor, who had remained behind with me, ran across the road and drove his car out of the thick of the woods. I packed up my duffel bag, got into the car, and we eased down the road in the dark, without words. A few hours later, he dropped me off in Freetown, about a quarter mile from the Greyhound station. Just me, my duffel bag, and Uncle Bill's silver flask. Brother Taylor, his face blank, shook my hand through the car window. "Well, Frank, take care of yourself, boy," he said. "You too," I said. "Y'all take care of Aunt Esther, will you?" "No need to ask." Brother Taylor made a U-turn and headed for Sorrow to let the men know I had got off all right. By the time he made it back, the sun would be rising.